What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Zook Fabs YouTube channel. Today, as you can see, we've got the back end apart. My partner helped me rip out the locker there the other day. So we figured while we've got it mostly apart, we might as well pull the housing out as well and do a diff shave on it. Okay, so the reason we're doing a diff shave is because you can't really go bigger than 31s on these Zooks. You can. I was planning on running 32s, but then you kind of need crawler gears and a bit of a bigger lift and control arms and high lux CVs, chrome ollie axles. So it's a lot easier if you just chuck 31s on, which we've got over there, and then we're going to do a diff shave as well. So that will give us the same clearance as obviously running 33s. You gain about 25 to 30 mils of ground clearance. For those of you that don't know what a diff shave is, we're just whacking the bottom off the diff and welding a 6mm plate on instead. It's not recommended for cars that drive long distances on the road, so this bad boy only goes on the road to get me to and from work and to and from tracks. So we'll get to pulling this out and then we'll chuck it on the bench and give you a bit of a closer look. So as you can see, we've just ripped the diff housing out. There's a bit of oil and other stuff stuck down here. So I'll just grab a towel, shirt, and just wipe this out, and then we'll hit it with a good bit of brake clean, make sure there's nothing left in there. Because when we start grinding on it, we don't want it to go kablowy. So we'll just soak all this stuff up. We are going to be cutting the drain plug out, so if you're a try-hard, you'd probably relocate that, but I don't have a tap that big. So in the future, when we want to drain the diff oil, we're just going to have to crack it and just let it all drain out that way. Yeah. Okay, so kind of full disclosure, I don't know what to do from here. I'm working off one of my mate's measurements. So we've got a line here, sort of level with this dimple. We've come up 15, 20-ish mils. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slice here because this is where I want it to start, and then I'll put a slice up here where I want it to finish, and then we'll just take a slither of steel out of the middle, and then we'll chuck the diff back in and sort of try and work out where we can cut, and we'll just kind of keep expanding that out until we've got our nice flat area, and then we'll just grab some 6mm plate. We've got some 6mm plate somewhere down here, I think, and then we'll just weld that bad boy in. So we'll start cutting it. Okay, so now that we've got that slither out, you can see the crown wheel in there. So over on this side, we are sweet as. That's just the sort of the dead side of the diff. Over this side, we just got that gear to worry about. As you can see, we are sweet through there. So I'm just going to chuck my grinding disc back in this slot and just frickin' send it pretty much. And I suppose if that doesn't work, we're going to find out together, because I haven't done this before. This is my only diff housing, so I hope I don't screw it up. But blade in, send it. Piece of cake. Okay, so with that little time lapse, as you can see, we've got our rough cutout here. I'm pretty stoked with how it went, to be fair. So now we're just going to chuck a flat disc on and just go over the whole thing, make sure it's all nice and flat and there's no sharp corners. Make sure there's no spots where the weld might not penetrate properly, because that's obviously not what you want. So yeah, we'll just go over the whole thing with a flat disc, take it down a little bit more, flatten it all out, clean it all up, and then we'll be ready to get our paper and mask out a bit of paper so that we've got our template for a piece of 6mm plate. Alrighty, haven't got it cleaned up. I forgot I probably should test fit it, so see if we can get a good angle. Now you can see we're still well within there, and our plate obviously goes on top. So I'm stoked with that. I could go further, but because this truck does go on the road a fair bit, I am wanting still a bit of oil in the bottom. So I am overall stoked with the amount we've taken off. I will now clean it, and then we'll probably call it for today. It's reasonably late, got a late start on the day. And then we'll attack tomorrow, weld the plate on, paint it, clean it, get it back in. And then get our LSD back in instead of this locker, because this locker's not working. We've got a cert coming up and WAF and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Crack a bevy, get your bag of chips, whatever. Stick around. Another day in the shed. We're gonna keep trucking with this diff shave, so we're just gonna grab a piece of paper and try and sort of trace out a template. I feel like I've said this a few times in this video now, so we'll just do it and you can watch. Alrighty, so we've kind of got a bit of a template there. We'll just trim it out and hold it over it and see if it works, and then we'll chuck it on some steel and cut it out. This part here is all kind of pretty shaky. So I was kind of, I mentioned yesterday that if you're a try-hard, you relocate the drain plug. But I was messaging my mate who did this a couple months ago, and he said the way that he got around that is to push these studs out, just these bottom two here, run a tap through the hole, and then when I'm reinstalling it, instead of putting a nut on, we just put a bolt in. So then obviously this hole goes all the way through. So when you want to drain the oil, you just rattle those two bolts off at the bottom, and there'll be a hole there for the oil to drain out. So in my opinion, that's extremely clever. I would have never thought of that. So depending on how much we get done today, we'll probably look at doing that. It kind of looks like these studs have to come out before we go too much further, because once we've welded a plate on, we won't be able to push them out as easy. So we'll have a think about it. We'll see how much we get done, and then we'll show you that as we get into it. So we're just going to trace around this with a paint pen now, and cut it out with a grinder. our plate cutout labelled left and right, just so I don't put it on upside down. So this piece sits in here, making look like a retard, sits on there pretty nicely. I'm happy with where it sits. Obviously there'll be a bit of grinding and stuff to do once it's welded on as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go around and tack the top of it in place. Going to flip it over and weld the inside 30 mils at a time, alternating sides. So we'll go over here and then over here and then over here and then over here, just to try and sort of reduce as much heat going in as possible. And then what we'll do is we'll bolt the diff head back in and we'll just full weld the outside in one go. We'll grind that one down and then we'll weld back over the top of the outside just to try and get as much sealing there as possible so we don't have any leaks. We've gone around and full welded the inside. As you can see, we're using flux core wire and no gas, so it's not really ideal because it does create heaps of these little splatters. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to clean on the inside, but you got to work with what you got. So we've just bolted the diff back in so that there's no warping on this ring when we weld it all up. So now we're just going to go around and blast a bead around the outside and then give it a grind and blast it again and give it a grind and make it pretty and paint it. Alrighty, so you can see now we've got it all welded on. We've got it mostly ground back. I'm intentionally leaving still quite a bit of meat on because I don't want to risk grinding the welds out. So just going to give it a bit of a wire brush, maybe a light sand, and then we'll do some filler primer to fill in just little scratches, and then we'll hit it with some gloss black. So as you can see, we got it back in, got a bit impatient before the paint dried, so there's a couple of nicks and stuff, but it went back in. Obviously it all went back in fine. We didn't change the overall structure of the diff or anything. We've got it all hooked back up. We just need to bleed the brakes, hook the breather back up, and then chuck the LSD back in, and then we should be good for our 31s next week. Alrighty, so now that we've got the housing back in, this is the auto locker that wasn't there that's not working, so we're just going to take the diff drop off and chuck it on the LSD, which is on the shelf over there. And then we'll go and just whack that one in. Alrighty guys, so with that axles and drive shaft put back in, all we've got to do now is bleed the brakes, but I'll do that a bit later because I might have to rip the front ones out anyway. So thanks for watching. This was the diff shave on the rear. Unfortunately we're not going to get to see it rolling around with the 31s on this video, so I will be going to pick those rims up this afternoon and then drop them off to get the tyres fitted. So thanks for watching this video. Stick around for the next video whenever that comes out. That'll be the 31s going on and the new lift going in. You'll see all that stuff, and then we'll take it out for drive and film all that as well. So give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Jump over to TikTok, I'll link it below, and you can follow me there as well to keep up to date with a few of the smaller things. And yeah,